Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Escape from Seas China. My name is Bindi.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our program. My name is True007.
Today we have our special guest. Her name is June Wenshun. June was a member of my translation team, and we know each other for a couple of years, I think. Hasn't it been a couple of years? So June, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hello, everyone. First time to be on with True007.
Yeah.
Looks cool, brother. Hello, Bindi.
Hi.
I
Yeah.
think we into. Oh my God, time had gone so fast. A couple of years,
A couple
possibly.
of years, yeah.
Yeah.
Couple of
And then
years.
talk about the time that I'm in Australia. I think I can talk about decades. And I from my
Oops.
memory, arrived in Australia
Oops.
2001.
Oops.
So
I
more than
think my
20
site.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Long
long.
time.
Yeah. And sounds like I'm into my, like I got age parents and then I'm aging as well. That's why, time can tell. And yeah, I feel lucky that, we chose to be here. Yeah, very lucky.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
what made you make the decision to come over 20 years ago?
Um, at the beginning was my sister. Like I was in high school. That time was 1989. The Tiananmen massacre, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think she, I think she applied to come to Australia, and the reason being that because my mom was the last member who kind of detaining in China because she has three other siblings in Hong Kong. And
Mm.
then one day she told me the story was my grandma asked her to like went back to regional area in Guangdong province to visit the relatives, sick relatives. And then by the time she tried to went back to Hong Kong, and then the border was shut. And
Mm.
since then, she was separated from her family member. And then she tried to apply a legal visa to go back to Hong Kong. But that time, the Chinese policy, she said she guessed because if you have one member staying inside China while the others are overseas, they will send you money from overseas, send items, everything. That's how they try to detain one inside China. That's how they would have some kind of connection to send something into. And then that's how my mom got married in a very late, really really old age in her generation, because that she was trying so hard to try to get a visa legally, but eventually she couldn't. So in her mind, she's been thinking of, I really want to send my kids overseas. That's how, when Tiananmen massacre happened, and an opportunity came up, and then she said to my sister, okay, let's try this. And then my sister at that time, she said, now she recalled that time I didn't know what I'm gonna do, who I'm gonna meet, and then where I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna face, any challenge. And she knew nothing, basically. So she just came to Australia to learn English that time. At the beginning was the English program to start with, and then later on, because the massacre, and then she can apply asylum seeker. That's how she was the first family member came to Australia. Then applied to apply my parents, and then I was the last one to come. So we were just like a
Okay.
Singapore.
Mm. Wow. That's
And
interesting, isn't
basically,
it?
my mom really think that it's not smart to stay inside China. So it's good that
Wow.
we have such an opportunity to change our situation, basically.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you actually met your husband in Australia.
Yeah. So I start my own family in Australia, completely new. And
Mm.
yeah, so for me, I'm the lucky one that without any burden whether I'm going to go back to China or not, and then I completely have everyone in Australia.
Mm. Yeah, and easy way as well. You didn't suffer any, like some people, they have to apply for asylum seeker, you have to have, evidence of having been persecuted.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
That was
So
a really lucky case, I think.
yeah, yeah. You were saying that I know that you were doing the Cantonese program, which is a daily program, half an hour. You were very active with that. In fact, it was after my first interview with you a couple of years ago that you then were invited to start a Cantonese program. It went from once a week to then recently, because of increase of number of people participating in the program, you all changed it to daily half an hour program. And the Cantonese program is really a program which I like a lot because of the style,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a lot of viewers, especially those days when you were on GTV. You stopped doing that program because of your elderly parents. So, because it's been a while since your parents are in Australia, they come that time, perhaps towards the end of their life. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more, especially now you're spending so much time looking after your parents, about your experience when you look after your parents, and what are the thoughts that have come to you when comparing their life here, or their friends in China, if they still have friends in China. How different are the lives of elderlies in these two countries?
Mm-hmm. That will be very different. And first, I got to mention that I used to do the Cantonese program once a week, and then when they start the program on a daily basis, I only joined them once, and then that only one program, something happened before the live stream started, and my mom suddenly called me on the phone, said that your dad didn't look good, and then
Mm,
because my dad used to have 2 strokes already. And then that day, he felt like really funny on with his tongue while eating.
mm.
So I quickly finished the
Another
half an
sign.
hour.
Mm,
Then eventually I drove over to their apartment and found that he didn't look good. So I called the ambulance, and that was his third stroke happened. But my parents, they didn't have any COVID jab at all. So it's like we can eliminate any side effect from the jab. But you just think about without the jab already, many people suffer from like stroke. So with the jab will be much worse. So we feel grateful that we all decided not to go ahead with this. And
mm,
then because since the third stroke happened, and I found that they are in their late 80, 90. So life for them independently live with their each other. Like for my parents, both of them stay in the apartment without any kids around. So it's getting more and more difficult. So it's going into a really challenging stage. So I found that I really can't volunteer as I used to do, like put so much time in it, and then I gotta like take them to see doctors and different appointments. Plus, their generation won't be able to pick up any language. So I am the driver, the interpreter, the daughter, the carer, everything basically. So I gotta help them more. So I
mm,
basically just do this mainly recently and talk about their lives. And they still have their pension from China, and they also have pension here as well. So compare with the because they have few times a medical treatment in the hospital, and plus at their life stage, and then every time when you go into hospital, they always have some social worker to talk about like how you manage, to ask them how you manage your life in at home, how many stairs are you going to climb, and then whether you're able to manage your life at home, and do you have any carer to help you out, and then ask those that sort of questions, and then found that they only stay home by themselves, and then eventually they will offer you lots of the um, I should put in like a benefit from as a citizen, as Australian. So they will offer you to apply for a care plan to get approval. so that you can get carer to come over to help you, like for transportation, shopping, cleaning, cooking, all sort of things, and then just support the family carer. So, you know, if they still stay in China, they will live with their pension. But I think medical expenses, I think apart from, I know that China now they have something like a medical system, but they all partially funded by government, and then you got to pay out of your pocket. But compared with the medical system in Australia, I think it's totally different, because like when we go to see the doctor, we just sign the name without paying any consultation fee. You go into a public hospital, then you just sign your name once, and then all fees are covered. But if the same thing happened in China, then seeing a doctor, I don't know whether it's going to be free or not, but they got to pay out from the money saved in their Medicare card, individual account. And then going into hospital, you have to like pay partially out of your own pocket. And if you run out of that money, then everything will be out of your own pocket. But for our medical system, like we're all eligible to pay tax, and then we will get charged by AT, or Australian Taxation Office, for a percentage for medical levy. So all taxpayers' medical levy goes into a big pool. So basically, everyone go to see the doctors and go into a public hospital. We're all eligible to use that, pool of money. So if you don't require like a private treatment, then everything basically is free. But in China, it's not free. So if you use up your money in your account, so everything outside that, like expenses that you got to pay out of your own pocket. And then if you don't have money to support your own, so you have to rely on your kids, rely on your family. So for this, and then even my parents, they said, because they've been here over nearly 30 years, so they feel like 25, 26 years, and then they feel like I sometimes I ask them, do you want to go back to China to stay there? They said only pay a visit is fine, but we're used to the the air, everything here, and then nice people, like the medical system, everything give you a peace of mind. Basically, that's what they comment. Over to you, Bindi.
Yeah, basically, my mom also spent her final years in Australia. I think a lot of people, because they are so used to their home country, sometimes they have the especially with parents who cannot speak English. Do your parents speak English? I guess so, right? 20 something years here.
No, nothing.
Oh, they don't speak English. So
Yeah.
even without them speaking English, they can, and they prefer the life here, which is very,
Yeah.
very different from some elderly parents, because they don't know the language. It is very, very difficult for them to live here. So your parents, what's the social circle like?
Oh, for their own social circle, mainly Chinese people, Cantonese speaking people, mainly. Because in their
Okay.
generation, their Mandarin is no good either, but they can understand.
Do they join any
Yeah.
social clubs like a church or monastery, religion, or some social mahjong playing groups?
No,
And
no.
so
They only have their own friends. Friends they used to, like when they arrived in Australia, when they went for exercise in the park. So we used to live in a suburb full of Chinese, Shanghai people particularly. So
Okay.
they got to know a lot of the Shanghai people or other Chinese people at that time. Just went for exercise in the park. So then they got along well, and then when they were not that old, and they will have a group activities, go for yamcha, go for like excursion with the public transport. For aged people, they only pay $2.50. They go around for the whole day, 24 hours without paying any extra. So they have fun to go to very far away to, explore Sydney, which is really fun that time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just so different, isn't it? So you can imagine people who do not have who do not have the English language manage to survive for 20 something years in Australia just because there is a community here. I think it would be very, very different story if people were to be in China. From the last guest that we have had, Su Guang Lei Wang, and he was saying that despite him paying for medical insurance, out of what did he say? Was it 100,000 yuan of expenses? He only managed to get a few hundred reimbursement. Was it right? 007?
Something like that, yeah. So
Yeah.
the medical expenses is the same the killer for aging population. Yeah.
And what impressed him a lot was the professionalism of the medical people here. That how he said that he even had a specialist pushing him around. And he was wondering, and he even offered, tried the Chinese way is, do I need to give you a red packet before you start treatment? They said, what red packet? So what else do you know, Jun, that is about the medical system here? The way elderlies are treated, are they treated better or worse than what you thought?
It's so lucky to be here. You don't know how much help you can get as aged people. Any people, I think basically, even the public hospital system already really looking after, Australian well. I would say, of course, that people still have complained, but talk about Australia is a multicultural country. So in terms of language, you can always call the interpreter line any language that you can get an interpreter to help you to understand. And then for some major medical procedure, they always call them in. Just make sure that you fully understand from a third-party interpreter instead of from your family member. So every time when my dad goes into a hospital, they try their very best to find an interpreter when they are too busy to find one. So they try to get a nurse from other department or doctor from the other department. It's really, really helpful. And then when you discharge, they always offer you Chinese community nurse, to talk to you and explain to you, what sort of help you can get step by step. And make sure that you everything's smooth and you go home by yourself, and then make sure you recover well, and then doctors will follow up another appointment with you after discharge. And then basically you'll be looked after by different parties, from social worker, from nurse, from your specialist doctor, and then review everything, and they will hand your case over to the next person, make sure that everything's all right. So it's just peace of mind for family member. Even though when you go into hospital, you don't have to visit them in hospital at all. Like they provide you everything, all the meals and all the treatments, and they will send someone like a porter to push you here and there to get scan done, to get this done, get that done. So as family member, it's not necessary for family member to go to visit them on a daily basis. But in China, I think without the family member to travel, to visit them in hospital, without giving out the red packet, to bribe people to help you more, to look after you better, you might, your family member in the hospital might suffer. You might be treated in quite differently, I guess, which is very bad. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, both couples, they used to work in very high level in the CCP. They retire from that, and then the treatment from their retirement program is very good. But unfortunately, after retirement, the gentleman got colon disease, cancer actually, and went into a very bad stage. And then, can you imagine such high level in CCP? They got very good benefits from the system. But eventually, after a few years, they had to move back here because they used to apply for a permanent residence here already, but they decided to go back only. So after a few years treatment, they found that, the money in their account nearly gone. They got to pay out of their pocket. Particularly in hospital, he was offered to use a lot of treatment, like said that, this from overseas is not local. So that will charge you double, triple the price. So that's how we found that even with their, the benefit from the CCP system, with the wealth they accumulated before retirement, they couldn't even afford that. They have to come back here to use the public system eventually, and until his end stage of, life. So that means, like, even though no matter how wealthy, how powerful you are, possibly, you got to be in Zhongnanhai, then you'll be fine. But if you're not in Zhongnanhai, eventually, all your savings will be gone before you die, or even your family savings. So that's how, it happened to my friend.
Okay. Well, I can see that definitely that your parents have a good treatment from Australian hospital system. But that raises my one question. I was wondering that we heard about from time to time that if you're not jabbed, you're not allowed to get treated in Australia hospital system. There's a lot of report on this. So since you told me your parents are not jabbed, and has your parents got any problem with that? The hospital ask for vaccination passport every time before treatment or in admission?
I think during lockdown, in our cases, was extremely lucky, and then we feel so grateful because what happened was if they have to go into hospital for treatment during lockdown, you definitely will be required vaccine passport or even visitor. That happened to a friend of mine in Sydney, and then he stayed after 2 jabs, and then his brain got a lots of issue, and then he was sent into hospital by ambulance. The daughter have to, like, that time during lockdown, all the family got the jab, but that time during lockdown, the daughter couldn't even go into hospital either. So they had to call her 20, 30 times each day to translate for him, to talk about his medication, talk about his treatment, and explain the whole process, for the treatment plan. And then for my dad's case, he went into hospital I think the recent one was just end of July. Oh, sorry, hang on. Early, is it end of July? Oh, no. End of July, yeah, correct. And that time already canceled all the, vaccine passport. So when the ambulance, I called, when they arrived and asked them, can we go into the hospital with you? And then I didn't mention whether I jab or not jab. And then they said, oh, now everything goes back to normal, which is quite lucky. And then when I go to hospital on a daily basis to visit them, you just need to wear a mask and then just sign in those, like protocol questions. And that's it. They don't even question you more at all. So for us, this time that he went into hospital, without any extra requirement for that, we're very, very lucky. Otherwise, I think I told my dad many, many times, because I knew that with his age, eventually we will get into trouble. I said to him, because we are not jabbed, so if you go into hospital treatment, so they might have to check you whether you have COVID or not first in the case of emergency. So, but when we send him into emergency, he's already recovered, self-resolved by himself. And then basically he can start talking that time. And then they did check him with the rapid antigen test without anything. But later on, when he goes into CT scan or MRI scan, then they have to do a formal PCR. But for us, it's quite a, like easy thing to go through. I think it's lucky that now Sydney is pretty much open as normal.
Okay, that's good. What about Melbourne? I wonder, Bernard's still saying some, mandates for the health workers. I wonder any situation. Do you have any information to share if the medical staff and nurses are required to be double or triple jabbed?
I know that in Melbourne, in Victoria, the medical staff are required to have a flu jab.
Mm.
Yeah.
In New South Wales, I think by middle April, you have to do the third one. Otherwise, you gotta step down.
Mm.
Yeah.
Next year, April.
No. This year. I think from my memory, it's 12th of April this year. You have to do the jab by this time. Otherwise, you got to step down because it's a mandate for the third one for home care, healthcare. Basically for these.
That's not good.
But other industry, it's not that restricted, which is good.
Okay, so you just mentioned, June, that your parents both. Your dad got the
stroke
pension.
Yeah,
I guess
mini stroke.
Yeah. Okay, and the stroke third time, and when he goes to Australian hospital, obviously the medical system take care of all the cost or percentage of the major cost.
We basically pay $0. Pay zero.
All right. Yeah. So okay,
he just signed a name, only one name, and then that's it for them to process into Medicare system.
Okay, well that's really good. I mean, that if you do that, I think in China we don't have enough hospital in China, and most people have to pay very high hospital admissions. Okay, for inpatients. There's no way that CCP will be treat you for free, and sometimes I know that if some family members go for look after the elderlies, maybe for evening, they even provide the meals for their family members as well.
Yes, many. Before I migrated here, I used to, I remember my uncle went into hospital to do a surgery. He has to pay out so much rag packets, and the thing is, you don't know how much you pay will be enough for them.
Yeah.
That's it's like a guess game. You don't know how much to fulfill the requirement, and then you got to check with others. Like you got to pay nurse, you got to pay the surgeon, you got to pay the carers in the hospital, even the cleaner in the hospital. Otherwise, they won't have you in something if you need something. So that's how it's just become a terrible culture in China. I think they are still doing so.
Yeah, so, I think these are the things that people do not realize. Like I have said many times that I actually have a cousin cousin brother who was born and bred outside of China, but who is such a Lao Fen Hong, a pro CCP, ultralistic pro CCP fundamentalist, and he is in his early 60s, and he has gone back to China to live, and wait until he has to go into hospital, and we'll see what happens, whether he'll still be so pro CCP or not. Thank you so much, June, for sharing your story and your experience and your time with us. We will speak another time, another day, perhaps on another program.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we want to CCP. We want to be the all our Chinese brothers, sisters, and the parents to know in China, in Australia. You come if you are over 55 or 60, all your hospitals fees, including meals, are all free. Okay, so please Remember that. Thank
Yeah.
you. So we're gonna take down the CCP just for that.
Take down the CCP.
Take down the CCP.
Certainly.
So
Yeah.
make sure that
We have a better
make sure we old parents are are looked after.
Mm.
And the good thing is they don't mandate jabs anymore in hospital. If you were in China, you go in the hospital without the vaccination certificate. Okay, that's not possible. Remember.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very sad. Yes.
That's the reality. Okay, so but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so it's good to hear. Okay, thank you, June, for your for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Flower.
You flower.
他一声响。